Let's work on hearing Lydian. The defining note of Lydian is sharp 4. Paul, what's happening, man? Good to see you on here. Sharp 4 could be standard Lydian. This could be Lydian dominant. The sharp 4 is also a big sound in the half-whole diminished scale, right? The octatonic scale. So we see it over diminished chords. We see it over dominant chords. It's kind of all over the place. So it's a good note to get to know. It is the Simpsons note. Okay, or some people use West Side Story for it, but again, as I always talk about in these melodic ear training lessons, we're not focusing on intervals. Not that I don't want you to be able to hear one note and another and recognize the distance between them. That's great stuff to know, but we're looking for melodic function or emotion, really. Okay, so here's just the pure G major triad, no tension notes, just G major 1 3 5 G B D. Right? Pretty boring, pretty vanilla. It's like our blank canvas. Okay. Then I just threw in what I call tension sharp 4, which is the sharp 4 of the scale, the sharp 11 of a chord tone. I refer to it as tension sharp 4 because it reinforces the idea that we're trying to understand the anatomy of melody here. So the G major triad offers us 3 very stable, vanilla, boring in sounds, and the tension sharp 4, the C sharp note, creates melodic movement and drama. Gary, what's happening, man? We're just jumping in, listening to our sharp 4. Here's the pure triad again. Listen to how boring it is, how vanilla, how stable it is, and then notice when that tension sharp 4 comes in. Okay, I'm going to show you a body movement for it in a minute. We're going to talk about the personality of it. We're going to try to help you get to the point where you can just learn to hear that note in the context of a key, not necessarily in the context of here's a note, now here it is. Right, we're not playing G, C sharp. That's more interval training. We just want to be able to hear this note in the context of this diatonic palette and recognize its emotion. Okay? So here's G major triad again. Miles, what's up, man? Good to see you. That's a half step. I'm descending a half step. But hopefully you can still hear that same emotion. Okay. This note is tension sharp 4. It's the sharp 4 of the scale. It's the sharp 11 as far as a chord tone goes. It's kind of the defining note of Lydian, whether it's regular Lydian or Lydian dominant. I call it my Navy SEAL note. It's there's a few different ways that I hear it. It's sort of like being in a haunted house, right? You think you see something, you're not sure, and you just kind of get all nervous and freaked out. Okay, can you hear that? Again, yes, it is the Simpsons, but that requires that we hear the G note first and then the C sharp note in that order for us to recognize it. Versus what I'm talking about where it can just pop up anywhere after any note. It doesn't even need to be after a note. All right, let me just do a pure G major, no 6, no 7. That's just all you're hearing is a G chord, right? sharp up on top. Okay. Now you're not hearing any precursor note, preliminary note, nothing preceding it, and you weren't hearing a chord underneath it, but my intuition tells me that at least some of you heard me play that vulnerable, bare, naked, alone C-sharp note, and you still felt it from the context of the key of G major, right? It still had that quality to it. That was a G note. It just feels complete. It feels stable, like we dropped a rock on the ground, and gravity took it to the ground, and it hit, and that's the end of it. That's the feeling of the root note versus that spooky feeling of the sharp 4. Right? Were you able to feel that one? It was a long time distance between hearing the G chord or the G note and that C sharp note. So we're not playing a game of intervals right now. We're listening for emotion. Okay? So if you need help finding this note on the fretboard, you can grab the PDF. It shows where the G major triad notes are. Those are the black dots, and then the 4th note is the C sharp note. That's the one with the white circle around it. Okay? I call this note the Navy SEAL note. Sometimes I have different nicknames for notes, just like I might have different nicknames for friends or family, people that I know really well. The more you get to know these notes, the more you might develop your own nicknames or personalities for them. For me, at least at this point, I generally refer to this note as my Navy SEAL note. So it's like a group of Navy SEALs in the middle of the night, walking around in formation, with their guns drawn, and each guy's behind the next one, kind of watching everyone's back, and the guy in the front thinks he might hear or see something dangerous. And so while they're walking, he'll go like this, and that's his silent way of saying, everybody stop moving and pay attention. At least according to the movies. I don't know if it's like that in real life. Okay, I know I look crazy goofy doing this, and I'm willing to look goofy on live video with you guys because I want you, when you're sitting at home alone with nobody around, with no live streaming video happening, to do these kinds of movements because it will align you emotionally, physically in your body with the feel of that note. Again, it's not interval training. This is not, oh, I just heard this note and this note. That reminds me of The Simpsons. I know The Simpsons is a tritone, and I know the first note was G. A tritone up from G is C sharp, so that note was C sharp. No. That's a lot of thinking to go through. Every one of those thoughts requires a split second of time. When we're improvising, we don't have those split seconds. When you're scared, you just know you're scared, right? When you're happy, you just know you're happy. When you're sad, when you're hungry, when you're depressed, like when you can feel an emotion, a physical thing either in your heart or in your actual body, when you're in pain, when you have an itch, these are borderline instantaneous experiences that you just understand. You don't have to think about them in the mind. So if you can learn to connect a sound, if you can hear a specific emotion in a sound, and if you can do a movement, that's why I'm always doing these movements for you guys, looking like an idiot over here. If you can do the movement, don't just watch me do it. Watching me do it might help you a little bit, but you actually playing the note and doing a movement like this will help you get below the intellect. Okay, you'll actually start to feel these notes here, so that way when you're improvising and you hear a phrase in your head and you're kind of like, there's sort of like a plot or an emotion to that next sentence you want to speak, you just know what it is. You don't have to think about it. Okay, it gives meaning to the note in the same way when you learn a new vocabulary word, that word has a meaning, and if you get to understand what that meaning is, you can just speak it. You don't have to compare it to other words. It just becomes part of your natural way of communicating. Okay? Ideally, we want to be able to hear it, we want to be able to feel it, and then we want to get an understanding of how it likes to resolve. It doesn't have to resolve, but at least in the beginning, the earlier stages of the melodic triads approach, it's a good idea to just learn to resolve everything and always resolve them. Okay? As you get more intermediate and advanced with this approach, you might not need to. In fact, you probably shouldn't. But it's a good idea to. And in general, when we're resolving a note, when we're taking a melodic tension note and moving it back into resolution, we're looking for the nearest triad notes. Okay, just like with voice leading. So obviously the closest triad is the 5th degree, the closest triad note, right? Sharp 4 is a half step below the 5th. That half step or semitone, right? Half steps and semitones, that's where all the intense craving and human desire are hiding inside of music. That's why the leading tone of a scale, the major 7, is such a strong thing. That's why Phrygian, starting the scale on that 1 to flat 2, is such a strong feel. That's why sus4, the 4 always wants to pull down to the 3. Anywhere where there's a half step, there is intense, intense longing. Okay? Which means that the sharp 4 is going to feel most fulfilled when we resolve it up to the 5th. Because that's the half step movement. We can avoid that. We can resolve it in other directions. I'll show you at least one other one before we're done, but let's start with the most obvious and rule-following way to resolve. Could you hear that even without... I didn't play the G note or the G chord. I landed right on the sharp 4. Were you able to hear it? And then I resolved up a half step, but... There's the resolution. It almost sounds like a leading tone. It kind of is a leading tone. It's just a very special leading tone. It's not some random non-diatonic leading tone. It's the sharp 4. It's the sound of Lydian. Yeah, that's the one, Gary, the West Side Story, Maria. Okay. It can also resolve down to the major 3rd because that's only a whole step away. This is a slightly softer resolution, right? Because it's not hitting that half step, that semitone. And that's where real craving and passion is hidden inside of music, but whole steps are still great. So try resolving up a half step to the 5th, try resolving down a whole step to the 3rd. I delayed the resolution very briefly. Sharp 4, root 3rd. Okay. And then finally, we can also leave it unresolved. Right? We can just play it. It's a great note to land on as long as you're confident in it and you've spent time ear training and developing your ability to know how it's going to feel. Just leave people in that state of this, of being nervous. It's a great sort of, it's like putting a question mark and exclamation mark at the end of a sentence. It's kind of a question, it's not a calm question, it's like a freaked out question. It's like yelling a question at someone. Okay, very open-ended. If you can't hear this note yet properly and understand how to resolve it, I would hold off on that type of idea for an ending of a phrase, but it definitely works. Just make sure you're in control of it first. Okay? And then you can also leap down from the sharp 4 down to the root, something like this. Leap down or up to the root. Okay, that's not really, I mean, I guess it's an end to a phrase. It's not so much a tension note being resolved as much as leaping away from it. Standard sort of tritone sound. This is a great quadratonic, a great triad +1 tension note structure. Works really well for any type of Lydian, whether it's standard Lydian over a basic major chord or Lydian dominant. We can apply it over pretty much obviously Lydian dominant is its own category, and then we have the half whole diminished, so all the diminished chords moving in minor thirds. So here's G7. Right, I can move this G7 up to B flat 7, and it will still work. Same key, I'm still going to play G major, tension sharp 4. That was yesterday's little exercise that we did. We can move the B flat up to D flat. That's D flat 7, and I'm playing a G major triad tension sharp 4. Okay. Or we can go up another minor third to E7. But the C sharp note still sounds like a tension 4. Right? In this key, I just resolved to A major. Because I was playing over E7. E7 resolves to A major. That's about all I want to cover today. I don't want to get too deep into anything else because tomorrow we're going to be doing 2-5-1s and tunes, but today is just about melodic ear training. Okay, learning to align our emotion and our ear with the quality of this note, right? I should say learning to feel the emotion of this note and sort of get it aligned with us internally so that we're not singing intervals or comparing it to other tunes. We're just hearing it as an emotion, maybe doing that body movement if you're willing to look like an idiot with me. It's very helpful. You should be doing them. And then getting to know how it resolves, and then just learning to use it and create phrases with it. The simpler the phrase, the more hip it will sound when you're able to start putting it into tunes and 2-5-1s and moving through a series of either scales, arpeggios, or pure quadratonics if you're interested in that type of playing. Right, sometimes I do this when I'm practicing. I force myself to take my hand away from the fretboard so that I have to make a very definitive, clear-cut end to a phrase. Very often, earlier stage musicians I hear play, and it's like there's never really an end to a phrase, and it makes it very difficult to follow. It's like a book where the entire book is one really long run-on sentence. We want to have sentences, we want to have paragraphs, we want to have chapters, we want to be able to tell a story that somebody can kind of understand what's happening. So anytime you're working on a new note like this, practice making simple phrases with it. Right, just stupid little simple elementary school phrases. But because of how simple it is, I'm able to do like question and response type stuff. I'm able to create more of a dialogue with these ideas. Can you feel that emotion of that note? As you get better at that, you can start inserting some chromaticism if you want to, if you're into that kind of more modern feel. That's sharp 4, sharp 4, 5. Root, sharp 4 down to the 3. That was a leading tone up to the tension sharp 4, so I actually played C natural, the natural 4, but I'm using it functionally as a leading tone to get me into the sharp 4. Okay, you don't have to do this right away. This is not beginner level quadratonic melodic triad use. This is getting into more intermediate and advanced uses of it, but I'm just trying to point out that even though we only have 4 notes, technically speaking, we always have all 12 notes. We're just prioritizing 4 of them at the top of the totem pole. We have the G note at the very top. That's like our Mac Daddy. Then we have the 3rd and the 5th of the triad. Those are secondary, but almost just as important. Then we have tension sharp 4. That's our primary tension note. And then we have all of the other 8 notes that can act either as chromatic passing notes or leading tones. Right, that's a cool line. I'll put it over a B flat 7 so you can hear it. I'm starting on the 3rd of the triad, B natural, walking down chromatically to G, and then leaping to that nice unresolved tension sharp 4. I would use that in a solo. It sounds super heavy against this chord. Playing B flat 7 in the harmony, and my melody is a G major triad tension sharp 4. Okay, that was yesterday's warm-up exercise. we can start to get into some pretty out there advanced sounds, primarily using just a triad, and then just adding this one extra note. Once we can do that, then we can add in chromaticism, leading tones. Andrew, what's happening, man? Good to see you. Hope this makes sense. If you have questions, hit me in the comment section. Let me know. And tomorrow we're going to pick up with this idea. We're going to start applying this to some movement, some chord movement, some 2-5-1s, maybe some tunes, and we'll see where it takes us. Okay? For now, as always, happy practicing. Hey YouTube, it's Jordan Clemens with NYC Jazz Guitar Master Classes and the Melodic Triad Study Group. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I have a ton of content coming out on YouTube this year. We've been doing daily jazz guitar lessons, so I'm going to be posting videos like this pretty much every day. So if you dug this and you want to follow me, subscribe and make sure that you turn on notifications so that you can watch more videos like this. Thanks again for watching. Hope to see you in the comment section. Hope to see you in the next video.